Hi everyone, it's the Comic Fan Man here, coming at you with another video. And in today's video, we're going to cover here the Masterverse new Eternia Fisto figure. Yeah, this figure just came out a little while ago, and yeah, my order just finally came in, and I am super excited for this because Fisto was definitely one of my favorite characters from back in the day. He always had this huge metallic hand, and now this is a new Eternia redesign of the figure, and I think it looks fantastic. He comes with an alternate head, as you can see here, a sword, and swappable hands for his robotic arm now. Let's see what his write-up says here. After his hand was severed by Skeletor, Malcolm bonded with the mystical Iron Fist. Now Fisto attacks the nefarious sorcerer across New Eternia in search of vengeance. Heroic master of hand-to-hand combat. Yeah, I think this is a really nice redesign. Box art looks great. He-Man is chucking, I guess it's a shadow beast of some kind. Because I remember in the 2000X series, Fisto was helping He-Man track down the Snake Man, and they had to go down through Subternia, and yeah, they ran into Shadow Beast and all sorts of like creatures from the underground. It looks like this is just a recreation of that. All right, let's open them up and see what we got. All right, so here he is, Fisto from New Eternia with all of his accessories. And this figure looks fantastic. This is an amazing redesign for Fisto. I have to say, whoever designed this for Masterverse, this dude needs a raise, because this captures everything from the vintage Fisto to the 2000X Fisto and brings it all to life here. Let's look at his accessories real quick. He comes with an alternate head sculpt, which is just a regular Fisto. Look at that. That is really neat. I like the way they did his hairstyle. That beard is fantastic. I love it. This looks amazing. He comes with this extra hand here to hold his sword. Here's his sword, and I think that looks really neat. This looks like a pirate style sword. As we all know, New Eternia is kind of put in this like water world type pirate of the Caribbean type situation now. And look, holds it really nice, just like the regular Masterverse figures. And now let's get into his weaponry here. All right, so this is the hammer that he comes with. That's really neat. It's got the nice purple wrapping there. And you can change out the hammer pieces. So it has this for one side. You can use this man-at-arms style mace piece for the other side. Or you can put his fist on the other side. Let's take a look. This is really kind of neat here. Look at that. And that kind of calls back to the to the Castle Grayskull practice spinning thing. Look at that. That's really neat. Where He-Man would, or whoever would hit one side and the fist would come around the other way. That's cool. I really, really dig that. And then you can put in the other piece here. As you can see there, giving him a really, really nice hammer look. And then, of course, you can pop the fist back into his fist area here. There you go. Let's take a look at the figure. Man, this is a wonderful callback to the 2000X Fisto. Because Fisto from 2000X kind of had this ornate ornaments around him. If you ever get it, if you have not seen it, you should definitely treat yourself and watch the 2000X Masters of the Universe, the Mike Young Productions. look at all of this crazy detail, really nice. I love when Mattel does this, like with the armors. And you know, the vintage Fisto, you know, he had this pattern, but he didn't have all of this ornate shoulder pads with the fur. That was all added for this new Eternia look. And Fisto regularly was only this. He was only like the lower part of his arm. The normal part of his arm was regular flesh. But it looks like for new Eternia, they gave him a trap jaw styled robotic full arm here, and that's really neat. It looks so cool. Definitely not something I would have thought of for Fisto. I would have probably just left him with the flesh arm like he's always had, but that looks really cool. I'm really digging that. I did have to heat this up when I first got him because this shoulder was seized. This one was okay, but this one was seized. But as you can see now, he moves around real nice. And all the way down, the rest of him is just the regular Masterverse legs and boots. So that's not a big deal. New Eternia belt here. But just this upper half of him, this is just so great. It's such a great redesign for him. And you know, Revelation Fisto, unfortunately, I think the guys at the Kevin Smith's team, they really did him dirty, because there was a whole story arc that Mike Young Productions was working on that actually had Fisto. He was the actual biological father of Teela. And so when Revelation first came out, and they didn't even follow that story arc, I was so upset. I was like, ah, come on. And then they killed off Fisto in like the first 3 minutes of him showing up on the show. Him and Clam Champ were just done so dirty, when they have such a rich lore that they could have pulled from, and they did nothing with them. Excuse me. But I'm glad here that Masterverse has redone him in a wonderful, wonderful manner. All right, let's hook him up with some weaponry and put him out. All right, so here is his more vintage style look, where you have him with the sword and the hair without the crown. And yeah, really cool. Looks like a really nice redesign of the vintage figure. I love this face sculpt. Like, Mattel really did a fantastic job with this. So I might not leave it on this figure, but I'm definitely going to use this face sculpt for something, because this is really great. I love what they did here. And even in the hair, I don't know if my camera's picking it up all that well, but there is a subtle wash in there. And it looks really neat. So I am definitely going to use this head for somebody, because I just think it looks fantastic. And here is his new Eternia crown look with the hammer. Yeah, it's just, I love that hammer. That hammer is so cool. And I think it really, really plays really nicely with who this figure is. I love it. I think he looks fantastic in this new Eternia look, and this is probably the way I'm going to leave him. And here we have the vintage styled rivalry between Jitsu, new Eternia Jitsu, and new Eternia Fisto. Yeah, in the vintage line, Jitsu was supposed to be his rival because they both came with these oversized crazy hands. And yeah, Jitsu was a bad guy in the vintage line. Although in the new Eternia line, it seems like he's actually aligned with He-Man now. But, you know, for me, obviously, as much as I love the new Eternia line, that's one reimagining I'm not changing. He was always a villain to me, and he was always the rival to Fisto. So I'm going to leave him as such. He is Fisto's rival, and they're going to go at it hand to hand. and we'll see who comes out the victor. All right, so here he is side by side with his brother, Malcolm and Duncan together. And as you can see, I switched out his hand for the man-at-arms style mace. And yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, like I said, you know, Revelations, unfortunately, was a disaster with his story arc. But in 2000X, like toward the end of it, like the first half of that second season, yeah, Fisto's story arc really came to light, and I loved it. And I was really hoping that Revelations was going to continue it when I saw that he was in the advertising. But they didn't. They dropped that ball completely. Yeah, it turned out that he was in 2000X, there was a warrior that was wounded really badly. And if you see that warrior was wounded, his arm was completely wrapped up. And then sometime during the episodes, when he damaged his hand, Man-at-Arms was the one that gave him the robotic hand in the 2000X series. And it was a great story arc. And it turned out that he was the warrior that the Sorceress fell in love with. And unfortunately, he had amnesia, so he doesn't remember that at all. But he was with the Sorceress, and he's the one that got her pregnant, and she had Teela. So biologically, this is Teela's father, Fisto. Here he is reconnecting with his true love, and here pretending that the Sorceress used her magic to heal his amnesia, and now he remembers her, and yeah, now they can be together. Again, that story arc is amazing. You guys really have to do yourselves a favor, and if you haven't seen 2000X, definitely watch it. I mean, Fisto was such a great character in that show that I was so shocked and disappointed with how Revelations treated him, because it was definitely going somewhere, and unfortunately Cartoon Network and all their infinite wisdom canceled the show because they mismanaged it. They kept changing the timeline. Nobody could follow the story arc, and it was ridiculous. I don't know who was managing Cartoon Network at that time, but they were awful because they ruined this show. They ruined like the 2011 Thundercats, and yeah, it was bad. It was poorly mismanaged. But yeah, hopefully one day we'll get a story arc where they touch on Fisto and the Sorceress. And now we have the full family here embracing Fisto. Sorceress explaining to him that Teela is his daughter, and the reason she chose Man-at-Arms to raise Teela is because he was a responsible individual, and he knew that she still had blood ties to him, so he would do his best to raise her properly. Also, Man-at-Arms also did not know that Fisto was Teela's father either. You know, he just knew that the Sorceress entrusted him to raise Teela, but the Sorceress never told him who was Teela's father. So this would be a shock to all of them, and I think this is an amazing scene. This was what I was hoping was going to happen in Revelation, and none of it happened. And it was really you know, it was upsetting for me, because this was the culmination of what I was expecting to see from the 2000X into Revelation. But they never went anywhere near this. So what the hell? I made my own scene of it, and I think it looks great. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this look at new Eternia Fisto. And again, as I've been saying throughout this whole video, I love this figure. This figure will definitely be in the top 10 of my figures for this year, because he just hits me in all the right way. The design that brings up my nostalgia, and it hits me with the 2000X callbacks here. I love it, love it, love it. I think he looks fantastic. And this extra head sculpt here that calls back to the vintage figure looks great. But I am probably going to use that head for another figure, simply because it looks so fantastic, but I don't want to change this head sculpt. This head sculpt looks amazing. The top knot ponytail there, the crown, it's just so cool, and it's just such a great callback to the 2000X Fisto. This is the Fisto that I loved. I did have the first Revelation Fisto, and he was cool. You know, he did call back really nicely to the vintage figure. But this Fisto right here, this is the Fisto that's just so amazing to me, and I love it. I cannot wait to put him up on my shelf. He's definitely going to be there with his family now. And I love it, love it, love it. I hope at some point we do get to see the Fisto story arc on screen, whether it be through another run of Revolution or something like that, or a whole different animation, because I just feel like his character arc was just done so dirty, and I really think they need to revisit him and give him the proper story arc that he should have had, continuing on from 2000X. Alright, if you enjoyed this look at new Eternia Fisto, please give me a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you and have a great day. Bye-bye now.